everybody. I am glad to be joining this program, which IBSC conducts, I think, periodically, and Rajshri is the main resource who navigates this program. She reminded me in the first slide. Uh, my, I'm glad to be reminded of that I was one of the three people involved in setting up IBSC, and the fact that both Dr. Sharma and Rajiv, they walked into my office one day in, I think it was January of 2018, and they made the proposition that should we get together, three of us as organizations, and set up something called Indian Biomedical Skill Consortium. And I instantly said yes. So I remember that I didn't have to waste time on saying yes to an initiative like this. And then in February, we formally had the MOU signed in Bangalore, I still remember. And from there on, I think led by Dr. Sharma, we are supporting partners, QCI or NABCB and AMID. Mainly it's being managed by AMTZ. And I think Nituri has been there right from the beginning, if I can remember. So it's great to be, coming back to something that you helped create, and it gives a good feeling to me also. Medical devices, as you know, is a pretty hot topic these days, both because of the COVID pandemic, which has thrown, sort of limelight on medical devices. And even as a common man, we ended up buying medical devices, which we never thought in our past that we would be faced with a situation where we are looking for masks and pulse oximeters and all kinds of devices at home. So the COVID was, on the one hand, is one event which has caused, focus on medical devices. The other one, which is should be of interest to your trainees, is the fact that we are transiting into regulations. We are not yet there, and that is very important for anyone who's in the industry. And I assume that most of the people that you are giving training to are either coming from the industry or planning to go into the industry. And they should know. One of the failings, I think, has been in entire, while you are studying, you are taught nothing about standards or certification or technical regulation or accreditation, except civil engineers. I am a civil engineer, and I can tell you, even way back in 1974 to 78, when I passed my civil engineering, we were introduced to the National Building Code and the Steel Code and the Concrete Code, which are BIS standards actually. They were part of our course, and in civil engineering, there was some linkage, but I never knew, even in civil engineering, when I joined BIS, I can tell you, I joined BIS way back in 1980 from IIT Kanpur after having finished my MTech. And I thought I was joining a research organization because the only part of BIS I was aware of was the part which produced standards, the Steel Handbook, the National Building Code. So I thought this must be a research-oriented organization. And when I came into BIS, my first posting was in Chennai, and there I was into certification, which I did not know. When I was in college, I was never aware that there's something called BIS certification as well. And that gap remains even today, when in the rest of the disciplines, there was no talk of standards, regulations, etc. And frankly, regulations in over last several years now have become more and more important, and they become international issue now. So I think people should know what the regulations are. So that's it. So I am sure your training is going to cover that. So today, any medical device manufacturer is faced with this issue. What kind of standards he should follow and what kind of certification he should have, because the scene is so confused in India. So on one hand, we are now going into regulation. So we know that medical devices earlier were notified device by device. By name, they were notified under the Drugs and Cosmetics Act. But that was never going to work because there are so many medical devices. How many will you go on notifying? It will take years to notify. And then I think CDSU realized, rightly so, that you have to follow an approach where you define a product, and any product which meets that definition is deemed to be covered under regulation. So that realization which came resulted in a notification, I think on 11th February of 2020, where medical devices now, the definition is there. So first thing is, you have to look at that definition and see whether the device that you are making is within that definition. The moment it is within that definition, you are now facing regulations. If it is not covered by that definition, you could be out of the regulations. So it's good to know that there's a definition of medical devices now legally binding. And if you are in that covered within, your product is covered within that definition, then you are going to be regulated. Now, regulated means what? Regulated means that you will have to comply with standards by law. It's a compulsion. You are forced to. There's no option for you, and you have to comply. And that is what medical devices rules 2017 were. But at that time when they came out in 2017, January of 31st January 2017, I think. They were only applicable to notified devices, devices which had been notified, which were about 15 at that time, 15 categories at that time. Later on, it became probably 23 categories. Latest figure might be slightly different. But with the definition which has come now, the medical devices rules will become applicable to all devices which fall within that definition. So that's one important part that all our trainees should know, that that definition now becomes the reference point. And if your device falls in that definition, you are regulated. Now, you can't also regulate overnight. No industry is ready to be regulated overnight. You need to give them what is called transition time. In this case also, a transition time has been given. So starting off, again, there was another notification on 11th February, which gave these transition times. And we said that from 1st April, a system voluntary registration will start up to 30th September of 2021. So 1.5 years, 18 months of transition time has been going on. And in that transition time, all you had to do was to register with CDSU with an ISO 13485 certificate. And that ISO 13485 certificate should come from a certification body which is either accredited by NABCB or by any member of International Accreditation Forum, of which NABCB is also a member. Now, this is important for all your trainees to know, because there's a whole lot of what I call unauthentic certification bodies going around in the market, dishing out 13485 certificates for maybe 5,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees, which do not meet this requirement of CDSU. So if you are holding an ISO 13485 certificate, please go back and check that you are holding a correct certificate, which is from a certification body which is accredited by NABCB or accredited by an IF member body. And how do you find out whether your certificate is correct, rightly accredited? Normally, the logo of the accreditation body will be on the certificate. So if you go back to your certificate, you will find that the certificate has, one, the logo of the certification body which has certified you, and two, the logo of the accreditation body under which they are holding accreditation. So if it's an NABCB logo certificate, you can be reasonably sure it's a genuine certificate. If it's another certificate and another logo of an AB, then it's best to go to IF website and check for yourself whether that accreditation body is a member of IF or not, because there are a lot of private accreditation bodies with addresses shown. I'm not even saying they exist, with addresses shown in Europe or in UK or in USA, who are accrediting certification bodies in India, and a lot of such certificates are available. So that is the first part. Post 30th September, it was supposed to be compulsory registration, but as we know, that CDSU has sort of not enforced this deadline of 30th September. Instead, there was a draft notification. I'm not sure if the final notification has come, proposing that medical device manufacturers would get provisionally registered and could produce a ISO 13485 certificate by 31st of May 2022. So there's likely a fresh deadline for ISO 13485 certificate. So if I was a manufacturer, my first focus would be on getting an ISO 13485 certificate, because without that, I can't register. Then the transition plan says that for class A and B devices, you should get a license by 30th of September 2022. Now, getting a license means you need to comply completely with MDR. While for registration, you just need a 13485 certificate. For licensing, you need to comply with the complete MDR. What does the complete MDR want you to do? Primarily two things. One, it says that you should comply with the product related standards. And there it says BIS standards. First preference is BIS standards. So as industry people, you should be looking at the BIS standard for your product to see that you comply with that standard. If BIS standard is not there, because in many cases BIS standards may not be there, in that case, you need to look at ISO or IEC standards, international standards. And even if ISO or IEC standards are not there, I'm sure there are maybe 500 plus, 5,000 plus medical devices. And I'm not sure whether there are 5,000 plus medical device standards, product standards available today. Then the third option given is that you can declare your validated standard. You'll have to show that you are complying with your own standard, which is validated. Validated means it works in the field. The product, as per that standard, performs in the field, both in terms of quality as well as safety. So this is one requirement in medical devices. The second one is about getting complying with Schedule 5, which is QMS, which is same as ISO 13485. But one problem is there, and which you should be aware. The Schedule 5 came out when it came out in 2017, was based on ISO 13485 2003 version. In the meantime, 2016 version of ISO 13485 has come. And therefore, there might be certain changes there are differences between Schedule 5 and current ISO 13485. So while you implement ISO 13485, you also need to look at Schedule 5 and see that you're not missing out any requirement of Schedule 5, so that you comply with both ISO 13485 and Schedule 5. So this is as far as the domestic regulation is concerned. Now, once you get your license, there is no requirement of ISO 13485 certificate. Licensing only says auditing of Schedule 5. It doesn't require a certification. But my suggestion to any manufacturer would be that they should hold on to that ISO 13485 certificate, because it has a global value. It has a global appeal and global value. Now, the next comes because I think it was mentioned in today's session, global view of medical device industry. Now, some of you may have ambitions that you want to go global. Now, going global is another challenge for Indian industry always, in every sector. If you talk about pharma, you talk about seafood, there are sectors where India is very successful in export, but it has always been a challenge for India to be successful in global market. And the reason for that is simple. The regulations that we make in India, unfortunately, over the years, have not been based on international standards. And that is true of MDR also now, because MDR today prescribes BIS standards for medical devices. And all the BIS standards are not aligned with international standards. So then you have to start looking for what is internationally acceptable standard. Is it ISO standard, which is internationally acceptable? Or in Europe, is it EN standard, which is acceptable? Or in US, whether it's an ASTM standard, which is acceptable? So that's another part that you need to look at. Beyond the BIS standards, you start looking at what is globally acceptable standard, where your destination is. You want to export to US, you want to export to Europe, European Union. Now UK has come out of European Union, so it will make its own system. The second part, which I would like to stress on you, because this is something which is not really understood even the highest levels of policy making in India. They talk about standards. Oh, we should implement international standards. We should adopt global standards. Even PM would say we should adopt global standards. But he would not realize, and nobody will tell him, that just complying with global standards is not enough. Your demonstration of compliance also has to be in an internationally acceptable way, which means your testing, your certification or inspection, whatever means you use to demonstrate compliance also has to be international. And what is that international means? That international means is your lab or your certification body complies with international standards applicable to them, and they are accredited as per international standards. That's where accredited certification or accredited test report or accredited testing comes into play. So my advice to all the young people here would be twofold. One is that our default thinking should be global. Our default thinking should be that we should comply with international standards. We can comply with international standards. We are a country of very intelligent people, very resourceful people, and we can do it, provided we set our mind to that. That's number one. And secondly, make sure that when you are using a lab, when you are using a certification body, you check it is accredited for the scope for which you are needing it. As a lab may be accredited for 5 tests, but may not be accredited for your test. So therefore, insist on seeing the scope of accreditation. Always insist on not merely seeing the accreditation certificate, which is a one-page certificate, but behind that, there is a scope of 20, 30, 100 pages in the laboratory, which you should look at to confirm that you are using the right lab, which is accredited for all the tests you need, which is very important. And one simple way, of course, is that you tell the lab you want a test report with the accreditation body, which is NABL, largely NABL in India, NABL logo. Same thing applies to 13485 certificate. You must insist that I want an AB logo on my certificate. But there the danger is that there are a number of ABs. Lab is safer because largely NABL operates. It's not a competitive market. However, on the certification side, it has been a competitive market always. I come from NABCB, so does Jenna, and I've been CEO of NABCB. At the best of times, at that time, we were having probably 30% of the market. 70% of the certificates belong to other accreditation bodies who are already operating. I mean, there's a history behind it. ISO 9000 certification came in 1987. The standard came in 1987. Within a year or so, the certification also started. And I can remember as far back as 1990s when we were being trained on ISO 9001. So the certification had arrived in India. Way back in 1994, when BIS was wanting to go for accreditation of its certification for ISO 9001, there was no accreditation body in India. NABCB did not exist at that point of time. So they searched for an accreditation body which would service them in India, and they went to the Dutch accreditation body, RVA. And in 1994, BIS got accredited by RVA for ISO 9001 certification. So the foreign certification bodies arrived in India because there was space and there was no accreditation body of its own. It's only year 2000 that NABCB was set up and started to function. And it's only in 2002 that we got our international equivalence for 9001. It was in 2007 that we got our equivalence for EMS for 14001. So NABCB was born in competition and has stayed in competition right through, whereas NABL was born in monopoly and is largely still in monopoly, although now some private accreditation bodies and international accreditation bodies have arrived in India. There are now 4 accreditation bodies from India which are member of APAC, and 3 of them are private. Apart from NABCB and NABL, 3 more are there, which are largely in lab field. So now competition is beginning to grow even for NABL. But for NABCB, it was always so. We were always in competition. So it's very important as industry persons to recognize these things, these challenges. That you are in a sector which should have been regulated long ago, because any product which is health and safety must get regulated, because it represents a risk to the people. And having a substandard medical device, having a substandard drug, having substandard food represents a risk to the common man. Unfortunately, India, medical devices were not regulated for so long, but wisdom has prevailed, and now we are on our way. And by current deadlines, by October 2023, when Class C and D have to comply with MDR and get licensed, all medical devices would be under regulation from 1st of October 2023 as of current date. So for you people, whether you are in the list of you are manufacturing notified devices or non-notified devices which are now coming under regulation, your time starts now immediately, because it takes time to prepare for the regulation to get QMS implemented. And you can't do it overnight. Get QMS implemented, get your product compliance checked up, redesign your product if it need be. So this needs time. So the government has given enough time. And for you people, it's very important that you realize that regulations are coming and you have to comply with them. Equally, it is also very important that what is needed in the global market. And the regulation, being regulated and complying with regulation in case of medical devices, as we know, is not going to be enough. You will need to do something more because you will have to demonstrate compliance with standards which are globally accepted. For example, as I said, ASTM in USA, or EN standards or ISO IC standards in European market. So if you have ambitions for export, you should simultaneously start looking at the other part also. And then also the method of compliance. So all those certificates that you're holding, you may be holding, which are coming from unauthentic certification bodies, time to get rid of them and get to serious business of certification, etc. So there will be, despite regulation in place, there will be room for some voluntary certification. For example, ISO 13485 or ICMED certification, which has been launched by QCI, and recently a plus version was launched, which is a product certification version, which might help you to access global market, because that plus version is based on international standards. If it takes off, it's just early days. So you may need both. You may need be compliant with the regulation. You may need some voluntary certifications as well, and you may need to comply with standards abroad, which are globally accepted. So this is entire domain is a difficult one, but I guess we should be clear in our minds what is compulsion, what is voluntary, what works in which market. Because not right now as it appears. I'll just finally in conclusion, I'll just give you an example of, which is a very well quoted example as a very success story in India in last 1.5 years. That is of PPEs. From being net importers of PPEs, we have become exporters of PPEs, and a huge ramping up of production took place in last 1.5 years. Lots of PPEs being made. But the problem which is being faced is, A, that regulations are still not in place. They will come in place. B, Ministry of Textiles told PP manufacturers, please go to BIS and get yourself certified, which they have done. But unfortunately, there are 2-3 parts of BIS certification which don't work in global market. A, the standards may not be aligned with international standards. I know for sure that coveralls standard is not aligned with international standards. Probably mask standard may be, but not coveralls. So even if one item in PP is not complying, you don't get an order for a PP kit. Second, BIS certification does not require 13485 compliance. Overseas, if you are having medical PPs, you will have to comply with 13485. BIS certification doesn't require that. And third problem is that BIS certification is not accredited. So it may be difficult to convince a foreign country that you should accept BIS certification because it's not accredited. Some places they may accept, in most cases they will not. So with this problem, despite being certified by BIS, so many manufacturers today are certified by BIS, they may still not be able to export until they do something alternative. So you have to be prepared for all these situations. And my advice to you would be, at the end of the day, please look at international standards. We should be able to demonstrate that we can do everything in an international way. Comply with international standards for product, comply with international standards for testing, comply with international standards for certification. I mean, as NABCB, we were a small organization. Jenna was my colleague. And Rajshri read out all those international equivalences we have got. We are a small organization, but I'm proud to say that we are internationally equivalent in every way that is needed. In fact, in several areas, we've got international equivalence before European or US accreditation bodies got international equivalence. So it is possible. All I can say is from my personal experience, it is possible for Indian enterprises to become international. It's a question of changing the mindset. We need to change our mindset. Think global, think international standards, and we can get. And that's what I would wish you all, that you people, while you go through the regulations of India, which are necessary to comply with, also keep in mind international standards and international ways of demonstrating compliance, so that in no time you can go global as well and not get stuck that now I have complied with domestic regulation, now I'm stuck, I can't export. So we should do both at the same time. That's my own advice to all of you. Thank you very much, Rajshri, for inviting me. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to see these programs going on, and I'm glad to see IBSC growing up, growing and growing. And I hope to see more and more such programs and more young people coming into this field and learning about standards and regulation and certification and accreditation during your programs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anil sir. And it was really a very informative session. And thanks for your guidance and the relevant information given about right from MDR 2017, our Indian standard, and how we progressed. And I'm really happy to provide the guidance and the course curriculum, which includes everything what we talked about. And apart from that, we have covered the USA European technical filing system, 510K, PMA, along with the risk management, ISO 14971.
7, yeah.
So QMS system, of course, we it's a part of our course curriculum, that is ISO 13485 entire QMS. We take almost 3 Saturdays. We have to invest in to cover that curriculum, and we have covered the Sugam portal submission, the Indian submissions as per our CDSU, MDR 2017. Plus, we have included BIS also,
Okay.
So ISI marking and all. Looking into the career path which will be required for the biomedical engineer and other who are willing to make career in quality assurance and regulatory affairs, I have designed program in such a way that whenever they get an opportunity to work, whether it is Indian market or US market or Europe, because any manufacturer, any company, after spending several years after selling his or her product into India, they would like to export.
Yeah,
So when the time comes to export, they should be aware of the international standards,
that's right.
international regulatory systems, and that's how we teach them, the entire path, right from ISI mark till the journey. It starts from India and then US and Europe, like that. And thank you once again, Anil sir, for your guidance. Now I move forward with the next speaker. I request Jenna sir to share his own knowledge on thoughts with our students. Thank you,
Thank
Jenna
you.
sir. Yeah.
Thank you, Rajashree Madam. And I must welcome to all these participants, trainees to this course. It is a good opportunity for these candidates, participants to enroll in biomedical quality assurance program. And as you know, the government of India has identified, recognized this medical sector as one of the sunrise sector in this Make in India concept in 2014. That means a lot of opportunities are there in the medical device sector. You may be knowing in last 5 to 7 years back, we were entirely depending on the import, which was about 80 to 85% import dependency. So you see the situation in 2020, last year, financial year, the medical device market in India, that was about 11 crore, 11 billion USD, 11 billion USD, which is equivalent to your 77,000 or 78,000 crore or rupees. That is Indian market. And it is expected the way it is increasing because of a lot of initiative or support from the government of India, and also the market demand, it is going to be increasing, which is expected to be 50 billion US dollar in 2025. So that means a lot of opportunities for these biomedical or these engineers to work in medical device sector. So I can assure you a lot of opportunities if people are going to get. So when there is a demand, that is manufacturing will be there, and it is expected that we are going to export, and the export present situation is about 2 billion USD, which is expected to be 5 times, that is 10 billion in 2025. That means we are moving from import to export. So means through this Make in India and the opportunities the government of India is facilitating in India, a lot of opportunities for manufacturing. And when there is a lot of manufacturing opportunities for us, automatically quality has to be taken care. So where these means courses, so you are going to be trained on these courses. I'm going to say what is the regulation, what is quality assurance in the medical devices, that help you a lot, and also the economy in the medical device sector. So quality has to be taken care. So I am sure, because I passed out in 94. So during my engineering, there was no such standards very clearly mentioned by Jauhri sir. So in engineering curriculum, we don't have any standard knowledge, certification knowledge, or accreditation knowledge. But once the engineer comes out and join industry, then only they came to know that yes, there is a requirement of quality. Standards are there, and certifications are there. There is accreditation. This all infrastructure, quality infrastructure. But it should be included, to my understanding, it should be included at this level. So this is a good opportunity for you all. Before, or you may be, some of you may be a fresher or from the experienced industry experience, having some industry experience, and you may have experience, knowledge in the regulatory requirements or what is quality in the medical device sector. But it is a good opportunity for you this to attend this biomedical quality assurance, where you will come to know the regulatory requirements in the medical devices, as mentioned by Mr. Anil Johri sir. This regulation in India in medical devices is very new, and we are entering into this field. And hopefully by 2023, and will all the medical devices manufacture that would be under the regulation gambit. So I have gone through this topic, I mean to say schedule, so which covers everything. I mean to say, what are the requirement for the quality assurance engineer in this medical device sector, like starting from the regulation requirements, what is the medical device sector quality management system standards, management system standards, that is ISO 13485, and also what is and not only Indian regulation, but also Rajashree madam also very clearly mentioned that studying from the India to the outside. So I mean to say domestic market, and also we have to cater to the global market also, the export market also. So for export market, they are the customer, so they will demand their regulatory requirements, which is CE marking for the European market. So they will demand it. So because they are the customer, they have to they will ask their product which they are importing from India, that has to meet their requirements, which is CE marking. Similarly for the US FDA. So you should understand also what is Indian regulation for medical devices. At the same time, we should understand the foreign regulations like US regulation or the European regulation, or tomorrow the UK regulation, UKCA requirements. So all these, many things have been covered here. And by this course, completing this course, I am sure you will be knowledgeable in what is the regulation requirements, quality assurance structure in the medical devices sector for India and outside India, which you are going to be tomorrow will be the global player or the exporting market. You will be looking after the global export market. So those are very in detail in the various sessions in the schedule that has been covered. And also what is the MDR. We are talking about the Indian regulation, Indian MDR. There are also schedule 4, schedule 5, all these requirements, technical files, product files, all these are being covered in the schedule. And it is a very good structured schedule course. And I am sure after this attending this course, and you will be enriched in knowledge of what is the quality assurance requirement in medical device sector in India and for outside India. So best of luck. Without taking much time, I will hand it over so that the course can start. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jenna sir, and thanks once again to entire parties, all participants for their patient hearing. Thank you, Anil sir and Jenna sir. So what I will do, I will just introduce about Raaj GPRAC, and then maybe we'll take 5-10 minutes break, and I will go through the global regulatory requirement in medical device industry. Is that fine, sir? So just 5-10 minutes, you can just spend more 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just sharing the screen. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah. So welcome again for the fifth batch program to all my wonderful students. Our journey will start from today onwards, and we will be meeting every Saturday from 5:30 to 8:30. Sometimes, if our industry speakers are not available, please bear with us. That time we have to, wait, I will just put all. Yeah, there was some noise. Sorry for interruption. So what I was saying, sometimes if industry speakers are not available, we conduct the same session on Sunday. So this happens only sometimes, and in that case, you have to please cooperate with us. This is a request to all the participants who are going to join this course. Okay. So after listening to these two gentlemen, the wonderful speech, I would just spend few minutes to talk about our company. Our company name is Raaj GPRAC Private Limited. GPRAC is a global pharma regulatory affair consultants, and I am the owner of this company, and I am really proud partner, training partner to IBSC MDZ, and we are running this program very successfully. We have completed 4 batches, and more than almost 150 candidates have taken the advantage of this course. And now the 5th batch student will also be taking the same advantage, or maybe more than that, because over the period of time, there are many upgradation happening in our standards, the regulatory requirement, and so many other factors matters day in, day out. So the Raaj GPRAC was founded by me in 2010, and like that I have completed 12 years in the industry. But prior to that, we have spent almost uh, 20 years in the industry, that is pharma industry, biotech and nutraceuticals, and the medical device. So for industry experience, after that I thought to start with something wherein I can uh, use my knowledge, and I will share the knowledge with all the student. And I was really passionate to train, to teach, to groom all the student to build their career, whichever area they want to. So my core competency, if you ask, I am a GMP and regulatory expert. So during my career, I have spent almost 20 years in different areas, like R&D. Apart from research and development, I spent almost 5-6 years in the quality assurance and the compliance system. And then I moved to regulatory affairs, wherein, I never looked back. So being a pharmacist by qualification, the journey started from 1991 when I joined FDA, Food and Drug Administration, as an analytical chemist. And from there onwards, I spent several years, almost 10 to 12 years in Sandoz, then Novartis, Glenmark, TCS, Cognizant, then Pregna International, GSK, and there are several multinational clients and Indian clients which I have handled at the personal level. So that's a brief about my background. And since I'm passionate to train, to groom, share my knowledge always, so whenever you feel free, talk to me, message me. I would love to answer all your questions. Even after the today's session, we will be, interacting with you and taking all your questions, and I will try my level best to answer those questions. So this is my very favorite slide. I would say the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. How did you feel after reading this? It's a very nice slide. I love this slide because learning is much more than the training, right? If you are a trainer and others are learner, you feel so happy to train them. But learning experience is equally important, so give and take policy. So learning is much more than training. So this proverb will be, this slogan will be much more important in case of you, because you are here to learn this 3 months course, right? Which is purely based on the quality assurance aspect, how to build the robust quality management system, how you learn the regulatory affairs of India, US, and Europe. Okay, so I need all your patient hearing, all your cooperation during this 3 months course, and we are there to support you from start to end. So that is my promise, my commitment from Raaj GPRAC. And who are there to, who's going to bridge the gap? As you know, freshers are usually not preferred in pharma, medical device, biotech, or whichever industry you talk about. So unlike IT industry where it is a labor intensive, the freshers have 3 to 6 months pure training before being given project. But if you see in pharma and medical devices, many employers prefer to have an experienced, knowledgeable person to whom they can expect the result, the outcome. And that's why, keeping in this fact in my mind, I was always inclined towards skilling, the Skill India concept, which is in very high demand, during our Prime Minister Modi ji is also, behind Make in India, Skill India. And I love this concept. And I also thought 12 years back, when this concept was not there itself, I started skilling people from 12 years back, from 2010, when skilling concept was not existing. And I have trained almost 30,000, more than 30,000 professionals in different areas like regulatory affairs, quality assurance, GMP, GLP, GCP, all the regulatory bodies, you name it, I have handled personally. I have faced the audits. So I am a lead auditor. Though I am a lead auditor of ISO 13485, I have hands-on expertise in all GMP areas for US FDA, Europe, Canada, and couple of rest of the world countries. So our training center, or the IBSC MTZ like centers who are always helping all the candidates, whether they are freshers or working professionals, they can enhance their knowledge, take hands-on expertise, experience, I mean to say, and move forward in their career path. So you must have seen there are number of warning letters coming for pharma, medical devices, and warning letter is what it is received from US FDA. That is why it is called the warning letter or the deficiency letter. So which comes from the Western regulators, which always focus on the quality, compliance, data integrity, lack of recording proper information. So when we meet this four requirement, the sky is the limit for us. And I'm really thankful to IBSC for selecting Raaj GPRAC as a training partner for this course curriculum. Okay, and with this, what I would like to say, not only this QA course, we have multiple courses offered for the industry professionals in RA, GMP, GLP, and other areas. So our courses are well recognized because our LSSDC accredited courses, we are ISO certified institute, and these courses are NSDC accredited also, out of which one QA course which you are going to take advantage is listed under medical devices. So apart from this course, there are a couple of other courses which we offer for the industry. And these are some soft skill learning and development program which we offer to the industry people. So apart from consulting, auditing, and the training, we offer soft skill program. We have different coach, different trainers to lead this program. So based on the customer or the client specific requirement, we offer this either in class or the online. Due to COVID, most of the people, most of the client ask for the online training program. So we have designed all the program, the course curriculum with the case studies, everything is ready with us. If anyone would like to go for it, you can contact me personally. Okay, so not taking much time, I will just stop from here, because after taking break, I would love to talk about what is our course curriculum, exactly what we are going to cover in this 3 months program, and then I would be talking about the global medical device industry. Okay, where are we today and where we will be in the 5 years down the line. Thank you one for your patient hearing, and I will stop here